Hey there, tubers. Today's video is going to be the 100-hour review of the CT 5555 tractor that I bought about 2 months ago. I just hit 100 hours with it and figured I'd do a video on everything I like and some of the dislikes that I've found so far. I'll preface this by saying so far I really enjoy the tractor and I would definitely buy it again. With that being said, there are quite a few things that annoy me or borderline dislike about it, but not enough to have changed my mind. So hopefully this video won't be too long, but it's going to be a longer one. To start with, I like the bolt-on cutting edge. You know, with bolt-ons, the one drawback is how the bolts stick up in the bucket. You know, I could go through there and cut the excess off and just leave the nuts, which I might just do that, but that's really the only drawback to a bolt-on. You know, this cutting edge is beveled on both sides, so when I wear this side out, I can flip it around and put the other one on. Basically just cut those bolts off, put new ones in, and I'm good to go. My last tractor had a weld on, and there's a lot more to it than what you think when you got to go to replace a weld on. I also really like the Quick-hitch feature. That just opens up a whole new world of options to you. They make just about everything you can think of to put on here. It's real simple. Just give it a pull and it's unlocked. Just cam it over and it's back locked again. The other thing I like is that they were insightful enough to weld on a mounting plate for a remote hydraulic feature. I've seen a lot of tractors that have been scabbed together with people running hoses and stuff up to try and get a front remote. So they've given you a mounting spot already drilled and tapped. So adding that feature will be pretty simple, which I'm considering doing here in the future. Now for one of the main dislikes, which if I had known about it when I first bought this, it might have changed my mind. But this thing is rated at 2,300 pounds lift capacity. And I mistakenly assumed that that meant that this thing could pick up 2,300 pounds at the bucket. Well, that includes the loader and bucket itself. And when you take those out of there, you know, 1,600 pounds is about as much as it's going to pick up. I was surprised when I tried to lift a pallet of decorative rock, which the pallet was only 1,500 pounds, and I couldn't do it. So the lift capacity isn't a strong point on it. The other thing is that this is a very light tractor. I think it only weighs around 4,500 pounds. And it could use a little more lead in its pants. I have put ballast in the rear tires, which added about 850 pounds. And I still get very light in the back. I'll have to use four-wheel drive to move around sometimes because when you load this bucket up, it will lift the rear tires off with ballast. So that's kind of a disappointment, but I just watch what I put in it now and carry on. So along those lines, the next thing that kind of disappoints me is the loader lift height. I'll raise this up and give you another shot, but it doesn't quite go as high as I expected it to. And then with this bull bar up front, you can't get as close to things once the loader gets up in the air as you would hope. So here's an example of why I'm slightly disappointed. I don't use this tractor to load trucks regularly, so just occasionally when I get some junk or something and I want to throw in the back, it'd be nice if I could, but I can't quite do it. This truck is 99 inches tall to that top of that board, and I just barely clear it. And then with the bull bar up front, I can't pull far enough ahead to actually tip the bucket to dump anything into it. So as long as I was just loading into a dump trailer, like something you pull behind your pickup, no problem. And even if I could dump in this, I could only dump it along the side. I wouldn't be able to get it to the center of the bed. But again, just a kind of a disappointment, not necessarily a dislike, but I can live with it. So another kind of disappointing thing is these hydraulic hoses. I'm not sure why they routed them the way they did. The way it is, if I hadn't zip tied it here, this would have been laying on the hood itself. And this material's rough enough that it wouldn't have taken very long to rub right through that paint. So I've got it zip tied off to the side here, and every time I take the loader off, I have to cut that zip tie because it doesn't give me enough flexibility to get these lines off. Which brings me to another thing, is it's nice that they're kind of out of the way, but that is awful close to the window, and it's kind of a bear to get those on and off. It's not horrible, but it could definitely be more convenient than it is. Now I do like that this loader is a quick change, and you just pull that pin. There's a clip on the back here on each side. Put your legs down and back away. So that's a great option, is with having the quick change. I will say that you do have to put it on level ground. It is a must. So if you don't have level ground, I would not take it off, because there's not a lot of clearance between each side of the hood there, and if it's not level, there's a good chance you're gonna scratch or hurt your hood. So since we're getting a little bit of precipitation here, I'll show you another thing that could be an issue down the road, but I'm not sure. I do like that this hood is metal. It's a 3-piece metal hood, so the sides, top, and the other side. But what they've got is a seam right here, and that fills with dirt every day. And with what little moisture I've got right now, I can see some of the wetter climates that could be a potential rust spot. Not sure, but just something to keep an eye on. So with that, the front axle, I do like this front axle. I was worried that having the tie rods on the front would be an issue, but they are absolutely not. And this front axle is beefy. For the size of tractor, the size of that axle is quite stout. Now I did a video on the turning radius, and I must say that this thing turns super sharp. I really like it. The way it oscillates and turns, they've figured it out. They can get the tire right back up into here nice and tight, and same with the front. And so they definitely got the turning radius down. So moving up here to opening the hood. The latch is here on the right hand side. It's a pretty stiff latch, but if you push down a little bit on the hood, it isn't a problem. But where the problem comes is this hose again. You need to pull it out of the way and hit that lever at the same time, and it can be kind of a bear. So you got to hold those out of the way, get this thing open, and it's really easy access to your battery. I do like that. But one of the things that I don't like is the fact that I only had this tractor a couple days, and this mounting bar for the battery has already started to corrode. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I'm hoping the rest of the parts in this tractor don't rust as easily as that did. Air filter is super easy to get to. Your radiator overflow tank, again, easy to get to. Your electrical breakers and relays are easy to get to. And really, it's not bad getting to the top of the engine. I don't like that, you can maybe see it there, that rubs right here on top of the air intake. And I don't know, short of cutting that down a little bit and remounting it, how to avoid that. Another thing that I'm not super fond of is how this screen is for the radiator. It goes over these hooks, and there's one on each side. You get them off, and then you can slide it out, but you have to have the loader in the air to do that. Now they've also got a screen on the air conditioner evaporator, and it slides out this other side. Loader can be down, no big deal, but it doesn't have those mounts, and it tends to float kind of in here up to till it hits the side of the hood, and then it'll kind of bounce back, and it just sits there and works. So I'm guessing over time that's going to wear out and could potentially wear into these wires as much as it floats. So that brings me to another thing that I dislike or am disappointed in, is that on the hood, first couple days I had it, I could hear something rubbing, and I thought it was inside the cab, and it took me a while before I figured it out. I got two rub spots here that were rubbing on this metal framework of the cab itself. And I had to do a little metal fab and bend these out of the way to get that to stop. I have yet to go in and get some touch-up paint, try and get that before these start rusting, but yeah, that's something that you shouldn't have to do on a new tractor, in my opinion. I don't know whether the hood was tweaked from the factory a little bit, or whether the cab's just got a little bit of play in when they bolted it down and they got it off to one side a little too much, or what the deal is. But yeah, I'm not overly pleased with that. And then there's random things like these two wires down here. These should be covered up, and I will get on that as soon as I get around to it. But I called the dealership, and they have no idea what those are for and why they're just sticking there. So they said every tractor's got them hanging out, and they've just never done anything with them. So I need to get those covered up ASAP. But you would have thought from the factory that they'd at least put covers over them to keep corrosion to a minimum, but they didn't. Now, one thing I do like is the block heater. They don't come with them from the factory, but they're very easy to install and convenient. So I just put the cord in here when I'm not using it, and it's nice and out of the way. So working our way around the tractor here, one thing I do like is all the lights it's got. You've got two overhead, top of the cab, two, what I guess you'd call running lights here on the grab handles, and then you've got 4 lights up here on the front. 2 high beams, 2 low beams. So there's a lot of light. The only thing that disappoints me about that is I wish they were LED. They advertise LED, and what's LED are these flashers and your brake lights. Other than that, you've got the halogen lights. I'm not sure how easy it'd be to swap those out to LED, but that might be something I do in the future. Moving back around here, the fuel tank. That is a nice, handy location for filling. I like it a lot better than some of the tractors that have it up on the fender, or my last tractor had it in the middle of the hood. What a pain, but this is nice and convenient. The only thing that I don't particularly care for is the fact that it looks like it was kind of an afterthought. Just like they thought, oh, we forgot a fuel tank, let's put it right here. But other than that, it's I think 14 gallons, so it holds quite a bit. And so far as I can tell, this thing burns about 1 gallon an hour when you're working it. They did put a skid plate on it, so it should keep the punctures to a minimum. You know, with as close as it is to the front tire, you would think you'd flip more stuff up on it, but that hasn't been an issue for me. With that, also, it's kind of funny, the fuel gauge is right there on top, but yet when you fill this thing up, within the first 2 hours you go from a full tank to 3/4 of a tank. And at first I thought, oh man, this thing is burning way too much fuel. But once it gets to 3/4 of a tank, it's super slow the rest of the way down. And the tank itself is pretty level. So I'm not sure why it reads that way, but don't panic if your fuel gauge drops pretty quick from full to 3/4. Now the doors are a big one-piece door, which I do like, and it makes it very, very easy to get in and out. Mainly in, or at least the way I get in and out anyway. So when I get in, tons of room. Nice and easy. But then when I go to get out, steering wheel's in the way. Now they did give you a tilt option right here, which moves the steering wheel a little bit. But the location of that, I'm Not sure why they chose it, but I'm wondering if it wasn't for them to either be used with your foot or by your hand, because it's kind of a bear to get down to get it, reaching with your hand, but yet it's a pain to raise your foot as high as you would need to get it. So it makes me wonder if they just designed it for both and picked right in the middle. I would have preferred that it would have been here on the bottom of the column, something you could grab with your hand real quick and easy, or something down lower here you just hit with your foot. But that's how they designed it. So unless you lift that tilt all the way up each time, getting out, I tend to hit my thigh on the steering wheel. So you kind of got to wiggle your way out sideways, then out. Now the right hand door, other than opening it up to get to the bag of tools I keep in here, that door really doesn't do me any good. Mainly because of this joystick handle, and with the steering wheel tilted all the way up, only a little kid could wedge their way through there. It is nice to have another opening door, but as for getting in and out, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Now I do like the dash. Let me put the steering wheel back down here. That's a nice laid out dash. Everything you need right there. All the warning lights are up there. This, I'm not sure why we had to go kind of the car route, but turn signals, high beams, low beams, and then this is where it's somewhat confusing. Your headlights are on this, but your cab lights are up here on the post. Why they didn't put them all together, I'm not sure, but they didn't. And then they give you a push horn and another push horn. I'm guessing that this is more of the European styling of tractors, where they have the automobile versions, and they just adapted that to a more of a US version where it's right here. Now your four-wheel drive and your hazard lights are right there. And then I do like this handle. It is very ergonomic. It fits my hand well. It works great. I just wish that it was moved back here a little bit. Because right now, in order for me to not hunch over while I'm in the seat, I have to get this seat slid almost all the way down. I'm an average size guy. I'm 5'11", and for the steering wheel and the loader and the throttle to be comfortable for me, I need the seat moved well forward. But then with moving it well forward, I get my knees into the steering column, and then getting in and out is definitely a little harder. So I think if they'd have moved this back, moved the throttle quadrant back here a little bit, it would have made a world of difference. Now the hydraulic handle is perfect. It's nice and convenient. And when I get the other hydraulics installed, I'll show those, but I'm guessing that they'll be right here, whether it'll be in a row or at an angle, and those would be convenient too. So I wish they just moved this section here back, and then I could have brought my seat back and it would have made everything just a little easier. Now the pedals, great. Forward, reverse, easy to get to, no problem there. One thing that is annoying is this brake. They have to be locked together, and you have to set the brake every time you get out of this seat. So even if you were to stand up in this cab, the tractor will shut off just because the weight's off the seat and the brake is not on. Safety features, I know that they seem to feel that they need to police us, but I really think that there could have been a better system for that. Which brings me to the dash here. As nice as this dash is, I'm guessing they use it for several different models, and they could have done a nicer, cleaner job of these cutouts for other machines, whether it be on the back side or something, just so we don't have these lines in here. But I can live with that too. Now over here on the side, you've got all your options. Cruise PTO, the adjustment for the cruise PTO, your cruise control for the Hydrostat, speed control, linked pedal, no stall and minimum speed, your DPF switch, and this calibration switch, which doesn't do anything unless you're a service technician. Then you move up to the PTO, and then your auto and manual PTO option, rear defrost, front window, rear window, front lights, rear lights. So everything that way is very convenient. Now, one of the things that I was really disappointed in was the armrest feature. You've got an armrest here on the right hand side, but you don't have one on the left, and they don't even make one for it. And I asked why that was, and they said because they felt it would interfere with the hydrostat lever. Well, if one over here would have interfered with that, then why would they put one over here? Because this one definitely interferes with the draft control. Not so much the 3-point, but the draft. So I'm probably gonna design and build something of my own, try and get an armrest over here, because it just, to me, it just doesn't feel right sitting in the cab without an armrest on each side. So the next thing that I'm disappointed in is these cup holders. I have to put some packing in there to keep my drinks from flopping around. Now that is a huge cup holder. It's nice and deep, but it is huge around. I want to say that's like 4.5 inches if I remember right, which just lets things just flop around in here. I've got a big coffee mug and it flops around, so I have to stuff old clothes and try and keep this stuff from bouncing around. And then the other cup holder is back here, and it is shallow. So again, it's oversized, but then it's not deep enough and stuff just falls over. So they could do some improving on their cup holders. Now what you might notice is I had taken some toolbox liner and cut them to fit these areas, because otherwise they were plastic and anything you put in there just slides all over the place. So with this matting, I can actually throw a pin or a small tool in here, and it'll ride really well. And I did that on both sides. Made them for in here and up here. And this is the fuse box cover, but they also call it the toolbox. So this is what they give you for tool storage in this tractor. So you could put 3, maybe 4 small wrenches in there, and as long as you don't hit any bumps, they might stay. But that was another big disappointment, is just there is no place to put a toolbox on this tractor. That's why I ended up with a tool bag in the cab, which it works all right. It doesn't really interfere with my reverse pedal, but if I put many more tools in here, it could. So I'll jump out and just kind of show you. I thought maybe there'd be a spot that I could mount one on the loader frame, you know, in here. Well, that's a healthy piece of steel, and I'd hate to try and drill through that. But then it could interfere with the oscillation of the tire. So if you were to turn and then go through a ditch or something, so that wouldn't work. The framework for that loader is just too low. There's really just no place to put it. So the only spot that I could potentially see is this here. This is the cover for the window washing reservoir. And it's pre-drilled and tapped with all these holes. And when I spoke with the dealership, I asked them what those holes were for, if there was some kind of option that they offered to put back here. They had no idea. So I'm probably here in the future going to build something that takes all these holes into account and gets me some kind of small toolbox right here. Again, it's not going to be a very big one just because there's not that much room. So if you're expecting storage, you're not going to get in this tractor. So I'll come back around here to the cab and show you one thing I do like is the flat floor. You don't have the transmission hump in the middle. So without that, it makes it nice and roomy in there. And overall, the cab is quite spacious. You know, I wish that they'd made a higher back version of this seat, but for a mid-back seat, it's fairly comfy. This material, I'm gonna have to get a seat cover because that material loves dirt. I try and clean this tractor regularly, and when I put the vacuum up here, it'll suck dirt for days. So it's like a sponge, it soaks up the dirt. So another thing that I do like is the HVAC system in here. This thing has got one hell of a heater. I mean, during the middle of the winter, if you've got it set there, the fan on one, it lasts about 5 minutes and then it roasts me out of here. I don't know how they made such a great heater, but it definitely works. Now, I've only owned this tractor for a couple months and I haven't gotten into the summer months yet, but there's a lot of glass in this tractor and it heats up quick. And so far, the air conditioner has been more than enough to keep it cool in here. They give you plenty of vents, and a good air intake system. But time will tell. In the middle of the summer, I'll try and give you an update and see if that air conditioner keeps up. I'm kind of skeptical on whether it will, but we'll see. One thing that did disappoint me is that this thing didn't come with a radio. You know, I paid $100 for that radio, and it just doesn't seem like it's an expensive option that where it's saving the company so much money per unit. They've already got it pre-wired for the speakers, which is great, and it's pre-wired with an antenna. So why not take the extra step and throw in a radio? But I guess they got to make money somehow. Now there's your sunshade, which I haven't used yet. It's not super adjustable, so it's basically that or that. And then when it comes to the radio, right here is the antenna, which I kind of wish they'd put that in a different spot. You know, I don't know whether they're trying to keep the height to a minimum, but I would have thought that a nice short antenna up on top of the cab would have been sufficient. So I've got a radio station that I like to listen to, and I can as long as I'm not traveling east. Whenever I point the tractor east, I lose the station, simply because it's over here on the one side of the tractor, and obviously the signal doesn't make it through the cab. Just something for them to maybe think about in the future. Oh, and another thing on the heat and air controls. When you put this up all the way on high, it's still a pretty quiet blower. So that's not an issue. Some equipment, you turn it on high, well then you got to crank up the radio because you can't hear anything. But not in this one. Then over here, they've got hand open windows. Not quite sure how much a guy would use these, but it does get you a little fresh air. But you got to kind of watch your hands because it wants to close. And I've had them open just for the heck of it to see how much air I could get in here and hit some bumps, and boom, comes closed. So not sure how much I'll ever use them, but that is a feature in this, and it's on both sides. So let me close this up and I'll show you the visibility. Now I do like the visibility out of this. With these big doors, a big front window, got a lot of good visibility. One thing I will show you though is there is a bucket up there somewhere. Even leaning off to the side, you can't really see it. And when I have the pallet forks on, it's almost impossible to see what you're doing. So I'm not sure how they could alleviate that problem without making a wider cab, a narrower hood. I don't know. I think that's just something that the guy's got to live with. But I wish the visibility on the loader end was a little better. Other than that, fantastic. Another thing is the rear window. Oh, whoops, forgot about that dirt. but it opens nice and wide. You could jump in and out of that. There's a ton of room. This goofy little handle over here helps you close it. Tightens right back up. Boy, I got some cleaning to do now. And the rear defrost is kind of a nice feature. So yeah, as you come out the door, you'll see the step there. The paint didn't last there very long, and I'm hoping that's about as much as will come off. I know getting in and out, you're gonna wear a spot, but that happened within the first couple hours of having it. So they could have done a little better job on the paint at that point. Back here, every time your brake pedal's on, your brake lights are on. So those brake lights are on all the time. Since you can't get out of the cab without setting the parking brake, they are definitely on constantly, which is annoying, but other than that, it's all right. One thing that I don't like is trying to get in here to fill that reservoir. Can't be done without a funnel that comes in here at an angle. I would have thought that they would have maybe brought it up out here so at least you could pour something into it, but you couldn't even take a water bottle and dump water into there without making a mess. Something I do like is these external lift arms. Definitely a plus there. They're big, hefty, and easy to get to. Another feature I absolutely love is this external 3-point lever. You want to lift or lower your lift arms, you can do it all from right here outside of the cab. Wonderful, wonderful option. Now it does look to me that they're thinking in the future of making that electric. Like John Deere and some of the other competitors already have electric 3-point switches. But to me, you know, you start getting a lot of electronics, and especially around the tire area here where the mud and dirt are constant, you're just kind of asking for trouble. So this direct linkage goes right up to the handle in the cab. It couldn't be any simpler, and you're not going to have to worry about having electrical problems with that. I do really like the adjustable lift arms. When it comes to hooking up between this and this, you should have no problems whatsoever. Your right lift arm can be adjusted. Your left is set. And these sway bars are fantastic. Just pull a pin, move it where you need it, and then reinstall the pin. Couldn't be simpler. They give you a nice healthy lift arm or a drawbar, and then you've got a easy to check hydraulic oil dipstick. One thing I wish they had done is the oil fill for your hydraulics is plastic, so you got to be very careful installing that, or you could cross thread it. Now that is the same size as the one on the engine oil fill, and the engine oil fill is aluminum. So an option is to go buy another engine oil fill plug and bring it back here, and I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. One of the things I don't like is the 3-point lift arm. This one is one I bought for an old tractor, just because I needed an extra long one. And I'm running it right now because I use a long one on my brush mower, and this one goes a little longer than the factory one. So factory one's right here. I'll throw it on and kind of show you the differences. But one thing is this one has got the short handle for the adjustment, and it stays out of the way really no matter what position it's in. So I'll throw this other one on and you can see the difference. So now I've got that installed. I moved it up to the upper hole here, which is another nice feature. They give you 3 options for your top link. Now this holder is very tight, and you can see by the markings it isn't that great on paint, but it holds it. But one of the things I don't like is you can't really get it out of the way. This stop keeps it at the one spot, and short of loosening that up, you can't really get it out of the way. So with that being said, this is the next problem. I thought that would be great to have because you would get the extra leverage, but it really turns out to be a pain. This thing will hit just about everywhere. So you get it out, if you're lucky, get it hooked up to an implement, and you can potentially hit it there. If it's turned to a point, you could hit it there. And then on my rototiller, when it goes down in the ground, it hits down there. So that wasn't a very good design. If it was half the length, you would avoid a lot of these little issues. But so I tend to run that longer one pretty much all the time anymore. Not a deal breaker, just an annoyance. Oh, and one thing before I forget while I'm back here is the reason I don't run a quick change on this tractor is simply because the quick change I have, I ran it on my old last tractor, no problems whatsoever. I hooked it up to this one, jumped in the cab and took off, and I raised the 3-point and didn't really think anything of it, and I just so happened to luck out that my sway arms were in the appropriate holes, and it came up perfectly even. But my quick change comes so close on each side that if those had been off just the slightest bit, I would have wiped out one of these fenders. And it didn't even dawn on me until I lifted that up and saw how high up it lifted. Now these are removable. There's a few bolts underneath there, which is good, because then if you did break one, you don't have to replace the entire fender, just this back section. But with the style of quick change I have, it's just too close for me. I can't even get my finger in on either side. So I'm sure there's different ones out there. I think they're all pretty close to being the same, but dimension wise, there might be a smaller one out there that someday I might find and go back to using a quick change again. But you definitely got to watch that. because I'd sure hate to see somebody wipe out a fender, and I almost did it. So just a note of caution. So other than that, I do like this tractor overall. I did a video on installing this rear wiper, and one of the nice things is they did pre-wire and hose for it. It's all tucked into this column inside there. Speaking of wires, like on the engine, they've got a wire that's just hanging out up there that is for the beacon option. So another wire I'm going to have to get covered up so it doesn't fill up with crap. But yeah, overall this has been a good tractor so far. The only thing I can think of that I've had any issues with is really over here on the hydrostat. This thing will go into high and low, no problem. But medium, it just doesn't like to go into. So you got to fiddle with the pedal to kind of find the sweet spot and get it in there. And if you don't get it in there just right, it will pop out. Now I've read some forums on that, and it tends to be an issue with the Bobcat and Coyote tractors. And as far as I can tell, they don't have a fix for it. So it's a pain, but you can live with it, or at least I can. And another thing is, up here on the dash, I'll get a green calibration light, and it is tied to this calibration button here, which is tied to the hydrostat pedals. Now the dealership has never had that light come on for anybody, and where these tractors haven't been out that many years, they don't know a whole lot about it. Their only option is to possibly bring it in and have them recalibrate the transmission. And when that light comes on, you can't move forward or back. It just, the computer is telling it, hey, we're calibrating, don't move at all. And the light will stay on between 5 and 8 seconds, and then it goes out and everything's fine again. But if it starts doing it more often than it has, which it's done it once about every 10-15 hours, I'll probably take it in and see if they can fix it. But other than that, the first 100 hours have gone quick and relatively smoothly. So with that being said, that's what I like and dislike about this tractor so far. 2 months is not a long time. 100 hours isn't a long time to form an overall opinion, but that's mine as of now. I'll do another video in the future when I get more time and more hours on it, and we'll see if any of my opinions change one way or the other. I'm sure there's things I've forgot to throw in here, but I'll try and write them down as I remember them and put them in future videos. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I appreciate you watching it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.